Michelle Claire. I'm with Volunteers of America, Florida, and we're a national organization. And our organization started back in the 1800s by Maud Booth, who did street ministry in the prisons and on the streets. So our organization is founded in helping others, whether they're in jail, whether they're not. In Brevard County, our focus is on veterans. Now, I can give you some statistics. Over the last year, we've served over 285 veterans, providing housing and all kinds of services. Of those 250, 75% of them had a record. Of those, %10 were sex offenders. So right now my passion is working with those sex offenders, not just for work, but housing. Housing is very limited, and I'm working with Susan Kowalski, on the reentry task force, just for the records. But we've had some very good success with our homeless veterans reintegration program and getting some of our veterans with records jobs, and I would like Victoria to talk about that a little bit. She's our program specialist and our job developer.
Hi, I'm Victoria. Work with HVRP, which is an acronym for the Homeless Veterans Reintegration Program. And so we're looking to really connect with employers that are willing to hire these ex-offenders. We recently, just this week, got a couple in of guys that they're fresh out, 3 weeks, 2 weeks. And so being new to it, I'm so excited. To me, this is a divine appointment, this meeting, because today I was just researching how can we get these guys in. So I'm blessed to be here, and we're doing our best to get them employment and help them any way that we can. And letting employers know as well the benefits to hiring those that have been incarcerated.
Thank you.
Sure. Susan, you want to talk about REACH? Or
My name is Susan Kowalski. I'm the chair of the Brevard Reentry Task Force. We were formed in March of 2014. We are a subcommittee of the Brevard Homeless Coalition. We came about because previously I was a probation officer. I currently work in the state prison system, and we understand the need for coordination. I think the number one factor what I see now is the lack of stable, affordable housing. So housing first is definitely a priority for the reentry task force. Employment, education is key as well. We focus on a lot of career skills, a lot of building of skills for inmates being released. I work at prison off of the beach line. We have about 33,000 inmates who are admitted to the state prison, with 33,000 or so that are released. So Brevard County is number 10 on releases for the state of Florida. So out of 67 counties, we're number 10. We usually have 800 to 900 inmates that are released every year. Many of them are homeless, are unemployed, and I see them on a daily basis. So this is very important, it's very needed, and we need to work at working together and collaborating. Case management is key. A lot of the inmates I see, the average TABE test in the state prison average is 6th and 7th grade level. So we need to help build skills. That's why we focus on education. We've worked a lot with Adult Ed, Eastern Florida State, Career Source. So we've got a lot of collaborations. We just need to work, build those collaborations and make them stronger. So our next meeting, I can send it to Kevin. We have our meetings every quarter. Our next meeting is December 6th. It's a Wednesday from 2 to 4. And everybody's invited. Thank you.
awesome, thank you. And Ken, you want to talk about Career Source?
Sure. My name is Ken Perkins. I'm a recruiter with Career Source Brevard. I specialize in engineering recruiting and aviation and aerospace. However, I get a rare opportunity to help organizations like Jobs Network. Thanks for looking out for me, Kevin. There's you talk about the benefits of hiring somebody with a record. as an employer, there are some benefits to hiring somebody with a record. One, you're doing the right thing by the community. But the other is everybody familiar with the term work opportunity tax credit? Okay, there are work opportunity tax credits out there for hiring ex-offenders. For ex-offenders, there's also a federal bonding program. Whereas if you have an employer that's willing to hire you, that employer can actually hook up with Career Source and see one of our staffing specialists. And they can do the paperwork. And what that is that's a federal grant ensuring that that ex-offender is not going to harm that employer at all. So there are some programs out there to try and help get ex-offenders back into the workforce. So if you have questions for the employers that are in here or anybody else that's in here, if you have any questions, all you need to do is go by one of the career centers. We have one in Titusville, one in Rockledge, and one in Palm Bay. And talk to one of the greeters, and they'll hook you up with a staffing specialist that's actually an employment security representative that's actually trained in that program. You're also more than welcome to hit me up on Jobs Network and ask me any questions. That's what I do.
And then Ken, how do you help people who have records now? When they come in to Career Source,
Yeah.
What do they do? What's the process?
Well, the process is they'll come into a career center, they'll see a greeter, they'll ask some questions. The greeter will do a quick evaluation on what services might be needed. They'll be referred, if they're not registered with Employ Florida, they'll be referred to a workforce services specialist who will help them get registered, and we'll determine what services are from there. One of the biggest things, you need to be work ready. For anybody who's coming out of the system, you need to be work ready as quickly as possible. And by work ready, that means you need to have a piece of paper that has some skills on there. And sometimes that takes some creative thinking, and that's where we come in. So, work ready.
Do you help with resumes?
Absolutely, that's what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Resumes it's not my favorite thing in the world. But it's just the nature of the beast these days. You've got to have a resume.
Right.
Any
And
other-
then you mentioned the community, hiring them helps the community. Explain why that is true.
Well, it's the right thing. Trying to put this politically correct.
That's why I asked you.
I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, and I don't want to make anybody look bad. Look, the rate of, if people who find jobs and get back into society and are earning a living, the rate of recidivism is a lot lower.
That's right.
Is a lot lower. So it's about getting people out of the system and keeping them out of the system. And for employers, that's doing the right thing by the community.
So less crime.
Less crime. Exactly.
It's good for our community.
Yep, absolutely.
Thanks, Ken. Any questions for Ken about Career Source?
If y'all looking for a job, come see me. Actually, come see him.
What was your name again?
Eric.
You are Eric. Okay, that's what I thought. Eric, you want to talk about recruiting?
Good evening, everybody. My name is Eric Hudson. I'm with a staffing agency called JMI. It's actually Yahoo Management. Our corporate headquarters is in Lutz, Florida, but we do have a site here that we work with. I'm happy to be here. And as far as recruiting go, we recruit, we do hire those with backgrounds. Our company as a whole, we will hire anybody with a background. When it comes to staffing, you got to realize we can't place everybody at certain locations because the clients do dictate who comes in and out of their facilities. But as a whole, we will hire you. We will try to find you something. So that's the benefits of probably going to a staffing company, because you're allowed, maybe you can't get in through the corporate side, but they will allow contract workers to come in because of the bonding and the other programs that are out there. And hopefully, if things work out right, it will bring you on later as a corporate employee for certain organizations that you recruit for.
And what are some of the employers you represent or jobs that you're looking for
Well,
now?
in this area, we have a recycling plant in the West Cocoa area that we currently staff. We take, I would say, 99% of all backgrounds. All right. There are a few that will come up, and I have to send over to the corporate office because that's what the client wants. But I will tell you, if you're looking for a job, come see me. All right, I'm always looking. Recycling is not a easy industry to get into. If you ever think about it, waste management, you see those trucks on the road every day. All right, 4 o'clock in the morning, that's probably the only person out driving. It's waste management. So that's an industry that runs easily 8 to 10 hours a day, 7 days a week, and it's not easy. Everybody can't do it. So with that, you know, it is a high turnover industry.
What are some other jobs that you have going besides that, or is that the only one right
That's
now?
the only thing in this county
Okay.
that we're dealing with right now. That's the only one. There are some success stories with that, and Ken knows a couple of the people that have been there.
That's
We had a guy. I'm not gonna use his name because he's not here to let me use his name. But we have a guy. You know, young guy came out of prison and learned recycling. Right? He went from a guy that stood on the line, actually worked on the back of the truck, if I remember correctly. Worked on the back of the truck I call it chasing the trucks. You know, you go out and see the trucks come out and the guys running behind it trying to dump all the cans, and the drivers in the air conditioning saying, hurry up. All right, this guy was in the back, running out there chasing that truck, doing this every day. Went from that to inside of a recycling plant. Went from inside of a recycling plant, learning how to recycle to become the plant manager.
Amen.
All right, so he went from little dollars to big dollars in a year and a half.
$8 an hour to 62 a year.
All right. So every industry may not be sexy, may not be cool, it may not be fun, but again, if you're trying to get back in the community, you want to change your life, you want to do those things, opportunities are there, you just got to think outside the box of what industry you're going to get into.
It's encouraging.
Appreciate your attitude, love it. Thank you. Andrea, you want to talk a little bit about GEDs and advice, or now is this just going to be advice, or are you involved with?
So
Okay.
I previously worked for programs to the Department of Juvenile Justice and a lot of different organizations. They actually switched over and I worked with the juvenile probation part of it. So I did have teams up to 22. We worked a lot with their records, things like that, but getting them in school and education is so important. I know the career centers have programs too, and they took over. I think a lot of shifting happened. Since then, now I'm actually teaching at an alternative high school. So again, a lot of my kids are involved with law enforcement. We keep up to 22 in the high school, so we have had students that at 17, 18, they've gone away to prison for a year, and we try to encourage them to come back to school. We're an alternative school, we deal with the behavioral issues, and if you can get a GED or a high school diploma, that's huge, 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 huge. Like I tell a lot of the kids that come out and say, I just need a job. Well, no, you need to get this high school diploma. After 22, the opportunities, the funding, the assistance for getting a GED starts to greatly decline. So I work a lot with young people, and then just a lot of community connections I have, and through the church, through friends, that if you have young people, you know, I try to just share resources and just encourage them. If they have not gotten a high school diploma or a GED, that's step one, especially if you're under 22. It does create more challenges.
He was afraid to introduce himself and say where he worked and things like that. And it irritated me to hear that. I understood his position, and I understand, the public. I see, both sides. But I wrote that post out of frustration for, guys like that there's so many success stories out there, but they're just afraid to, talk about it. And so that post is a success story that encourages people with a record. So if you haven't heard about Jay, make sure you go to that post. And I'm talking to you watching this video. So we're going to share, Lori's going to share what Jobs Network New Beginnings, whatever she wants to talk about, a little bit about that.
Jobs Network New Beginnings is a Facebook page where we invite people with records. We invite employers that hire people with records. It's a closed group because some people don't want to be out there. And what our intention is to find people that are struggling to get a job and take that person and work with them. And I need people to help me with that. I can't do it alone. So anybody wanting to join, please let me know. It's slowly growing, but we are getting a lot of people into the group. And we're trying to weed out the ones that aren't there for the purpose of what it's there for the hiring of the records. And we're also doing other things. We found out there's prisoners that need Bibles and reading glasses, so we've got one of the admin working on that. So anything in the housing, that's a big thing. We have a post asking people if you know people that hire felons or will let them live there, please put it on this post because that is their crime. That's really sad. So we're there. My passion is helping others, and those with records just struggle a whole lot more than the other person. So thank you.
Thanks for sharing.
Hey, Kevin, let me know.
We're getting there. About 8:31. So we're moving on to intros of employers with a record who hire those with a record. Do we have any employers here that have a record that want to share that? Other than you know who? Stand up, Mr. Doug. Give him a little, speak whatever you feel the Lord wants you to share.
My name's Doug Green. I own Cocoa Beach Plumbing. Born and raised in Merritt, Iowa. Came from the broken home like a lot of people relate to, and kind of went south when I was a very young man, at the age of 12 years old. Left home at 14 years old. You know, the whole drug scene for several years, and I ended up in prison for getting busted with a big load of drugs on Merritt Island. And at that time, I gave my heart to the Lord before I went to prison. And I know if you put God first, all things shall be added unto you, bottom line. I still feel to this day, 34 years later, I'm a walking miracle. My parents, to this day, still think I'm a walking miracle. They gave up hope on me. I left home. They never seen me for years. Kind of got lost. And I can only encourage anybody that's ever gone through anything that God will see a way. I am a second chance person. I was given a second chance, and I also hire people. I believe in second chances. Everybody makes mistakes. Doesn't matter what mistake it is. God spoke to me when I was in the road prison. And he told me one day, because I didn't have an education, I'm not book smart at all. But God spoke to me one day and said, you're going to be somebody. And from that day on, I put my best foot forward. And I've worked hard every day. I still do. I also prayed a little prayer before, because I finally got bold to ask God for something, because all I could keep saying is forgive me. Because of my guilt and shame. What I did to my family, friends, whatever. I asked God one day, maybe I could have a nice Christian wife, maybe a couple children one day. Well, to tell you, I've got my 13th grandchild on the way. I have 5 daughters. I've been blessed. I've been blessed with money. I mean, more than I could ever imagine.
That's what you asked for.
Yeah, exactly. I asked for a couple children. I got 5. But what I want to say is to encourage everybody, and we all, y'all are in very serious organizations that are reaching out. I've sat on the board with Good News Jail and Prison Ministry, and been very involved with several ministries, but I can only say that there is hope for everyone. We were all born with the same heart. Some of us just made bad choices and decisions. What we've done with our heart. Well, and so all I can speak to is that I love to see someone walk through my door, to know that they've had a rough road. For me to have the opportunity to be able to share hope with them and say, it is possible. Here's all I need you to do. I've got young men that came in as teenagers. One of them has now become a son-in-law that holds a master's plumbing license for the state of Florida, who will succeed and own my company in the next 3 years. I've got another son-in-law who came to me who is an illegal alien, heading to prison with a record already, definitely going to prison, and came into my home for the first time, and I had a little talk with him. It wasn't a good talk, but it was a talk. I want to tell you, he's the finest father, plumber. He runs my granite shop. He cuts stone. He installs it every day. He's got 2 children. Very successful young man. Now he's fighting the DACA program that just got suspended. He's married legally. He has his own mortgage. He owns his own house. And he might get deported, I don't know. But you know, I believe God's going to make a way for him no matter what. So I just want to share a word of hope, especially for you folks. I mean, really in the trenches with these organizations that are really reaching out trying to help veterans. I mean, my passion is to see people come from the bottom and rise up.
Amen.
I mean, I believe in it. I'm a product of it, and there's nothing impossible in anybody's life. And that's how I don't mean to preach a sermon, man. It's my passion, though. And I've been just again overwhelmed and blessed abundantly. You know, I've just to this day I probably still work 14, 16-hour days, but oh well, that's good. God made me that way, wired me that way. I'm okay with it. And so again, I used to speak in prisons and jails and in public school system and to students, and we've been very involved with Mark Merrill. I don't know if any of you are familiar with Mark Merrill. He spoke, and we believe now that it's time to start reaching students before they get to jail and prison. We want to help the people that have been there to rise up, be productive people, be successful. And success is what this gentleman said. Hey, I was raised on the end of a shovel out in the hot sun, digging trenches and laying pipe. My father owned a plumbing company when I was a kid growing up. And he knew Doug had a lot of energy and too much energy, and Doug needed to be out in the trench digging ditches with him. But as I tell people, you know, you can be one of the best ditch diggers and be successful. I need a good ditch digger. I need a hard worker. That's success. It doesn't matter what you do in life. Success is peace. Just peace. Satisfaction, knowing who you are every day. But anyhow, I will stop here because I could go on all night with my passion about seeing people that are down be raised up to be a new creation in God's image, and that's success to me. Anyhow, God bless you.
Any other employers want to talk? We already talked to the recruiter here, Mr. Eric. Any other employers? And moving on to any other employers who maybe don't have a record that want to talk, feel free. If not, we'll move on to testimonies from guests with a record. So, anybody who has a record now that, or then, that has had success in their life, since they've had a record, especially surrounding work, relationships, like Doug was mentioning. Anybody want to share that? Go ahead, Michael.
My name is Michael Page, and I do have a record. A lot of people that I heard when I was in prison talked about, oh, you don't know about my life. Oh, you know, my life was so rough. You know, I grew up with 2 alcoholic parents. My dad did work hard. He did take care of his family, but he was an alcoholic. And, you know, me, you know, I became an alcoholic too. My life wasn't easy. I lived on the streets many, many years. And eventually I ended up going to prison in 1991. And I didn't get out until 2012. I spent 21 years in prison. While I was in prison, God got a hold of me, and He said, "Are you ready? Are you ready for me?" And finally I said, "Yeah, I'm ready for you." I'm allowed to start crying because, I can't believe the blessings that God's given me. He let me out of prison about 3 months early, which surprised me. And they sent me down here to Cocoa, and I stayed in a motel in Cocoa for a month. And it was paid for me. I didn't know anybody, so I was on my own. I went out and did odd jobs. Finally got me a job doing telemarketing, which that didn't work out well because I don't talk well on the phone. Then I got me a job working for a car wash. I did that for a while. I ended up running a mobile detailing business for a guy. That ended up going south. So I ended up going down to concrete company down in Palm Bay, Leo's Concrete. And I already knew that, he would hire people with a record. And I went down there March of 2014. And I started doing concrete work. I went on to the prep crew. I went on to the block crew. Now I'm working for Dumpstar, which is a branch of Leo's Concrete. As a driver and a cleaner, I clean porta johns for a living now. I drive around by myself all over the county. I now have a beautiful wife. We own our own home. I started out when I got out of prison walking. And a friend bought me a bicycle and I was bicycling. Then another friend of mine looked at me and he told me, he says, "I got this old Saturn here. If you can get the tag and the title on it, it's yours." So I drove that around for a while. Now I'm driving a 2006 F-150. I believe that God has blessed me, and I believe that God will bless anybody who puts their faith and their trust in Him. I'm not perfect. I probably never will be until I stand before my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. But until then, He's going to keep working with me. My passion, as I was telling Susan, is to be able to go back into the prisons and talk to the guys and tell them, it can work. You can do it. Since I've been out of prison since 2012, February 10th would be 6 years that I've been out. Statistics said I wouldn't make it 6 months. Since I've been out, I've been unemployed maybe a total of 3 weeks because I had to drive and I had my Lord Savior Jesus Christ to help me. And if I can share anything with anybody, it's just not to just believe in God, but believe in yourself. And tell yourself, I'm not a nobody. I'm a somebody, and I can do this. I believe God still has work for me to do, and whatever work He has for me to do in the future, I'm more than willing to do whatever He has for me. Thank you.
Any other testimonies?
I guess I can share mine, why not? So, my name's Harlan. I was 22 and I was arrested with probably the biggest black mark you can get put on you by society. I knew I didn't deserve what was going on. I won't really talk about too much what happened. I was able to get out from under everything. I'm a felon, but I damn sure didn't get the biggest black mark you could have. It was stupid. I was living a fast life. I was 22 years old, making almost $90,000 a year, so I just didn't know what to do with myself because I could do whatever I wanted. I spent a year in prison. I went to a prison where I was maximum security, and everybody there worked on a farm. When I got there, I told them I'm too smart to work on a farm. I taught GED. I was the first person in the penal system to get somebody a GED under Common Core. I got out, I did a year, got out. I've had a couple of hiccups because I'm a felon finding jobs in a workforce where I'm very good at. So that just tells you, you know, even though you have a record, if you're really good at something, it can still hold you back in today's world. And, you know, I work for Kevin now. I'm the sales manager for him at his business. You know, and like I said, it's tough, you know, going from, you know, I was young, I was in prison at 23, 24, you know, to get out, and I'm married with a kid now, you know, so I consider myself an upstanding citizen. You know, I hate to use that word, but it fits. And, you know, I found God in prison. You know, I was religious before that point, but it never really to the point where I really gave it much thought. You know, I always knew there was something there, but, you know, and he helped me. He brought me out of all of that. You know, when they told me I'm looking at 99 years plus 99 years plus 25 years plus 25 years, and I beat all of it. You know, so, you know, I was investigated by the FBI. You know, it was a big deal, and I was able to, you know, stand fast. He kept telling me, don't listen, don't let them get in your head. You know, just, you know you didn't do what they're telling you did, and don't let anybody tell you otherwise. And, you know, so it just went on, and, you know, I'm here now. I've been out of prison almost 3 years. You know, January will make 3 years. And I've been blessed by Kevin. You know, I've been blessed by a bunch of people in the community. And, you know, it's great to see people here that are helping people, because when I was in prison, I was trying to help people that had been in for 20. I was in a maximum security prison, so I was in there with people that they had life with parole, so they just didn't know if they'd ever make it out. And I was trying to teach them, you know, just the basics to make it, you know, resumes, stuff like that. So it's always been in my heart. I've been with Jobs Network from the beginning, since almost the beginning, you know, off and on to some capacity. And, you know, it's a blessing when you can see somebody that's been in for 20 years and they can come right out and hit the ground running. Or when somebody, you know, is struggling, you know, when they get out, to have somebody grab them by the shoulders and say, listen, it's going to be okay. This is what we're going to do. We're going to help you. We're going to do this. Because, you know, a lot of the people that go to prison and come out, they don't have anybody. You know, you lose a lot of that when you go in. When you get in trouble, you know, my biggest thing that I always learned was your past doesn't define your future. You know, you may make mistakes. You may do things. They may tell you you'll never amount to nothing. But I'm telling you, it can happen. And, you know, I've done pretty decent for myself since then, and I've seen people that have, you know, and I just want to say thanks to everybody for having us here and having me here, and I appreciate it.
So, thanks very much.
All right, I just want to say something that I'm really inspired by everyone's stories. I actually don't have any felonies, but I do have misdemeanors, and I've been in county, but they're misdemeanors that I'm having a really hard time getting a job with because they're drug charges, DUIs, paraphernalias, theft, things of that nature.
And what this does is for people that are in recovery or have family members that are addicts, it gives them a state certification to be able to then do, even with a misdemeanor, with a recovery. Because in community treatment centers, STEPS, circles of care, Veterans Administration are hiring people to be peer-to-peer specialists. And it's becoming more and more prevalent out there. We have a veteran that had a record, was an addict, went through the training, started volunteering at a community treatment center, has now been hired. They could only work in part-time because he didn't have transportation. We were blessed, we had a car donated to us, we gave to him. He's now working full-time, he's going to be moving out within the next 3 months on his own. Because we were able to offer that training. And, you know, a lot of people identify us that it's for veterans, but it's not for veterans. We do it all the time, and again, there's so many different types of that peer recovery specialist training one element is veteran, but there's other elements, and if you really are interested in working in that field, that's the way to go, without going and getting a bachelor's degree.
Right. I like that. Sounds great.
So you're always welcome to connect. We just started a new class last week, so if anybody wants to join, it's in Cocoa on Tuesdays from like 4:30, you can call me and I get the information out
You
there.
should post that information on JN and JNNB, because I think a lot of people would like to hear about that. Before we get to the problems and challenges that Mike will start us with, I wanted to talk about Dale a little bit. Dale owns a printing and signs company, and he is donating a wrap on my vehicle to the ministry to promote Jobs Network and the ministry. And it's expensive, because we really, that thing's gonna be awesome. So it is a big donation, it's a few $1,000s, and Dale was kind enough, he believes in what we do so much, and he's such a generous guy, and wants to help and magnify, the help that we're given. And so he's doing that for us. And I wanted Dale to speak a little bit, share your story if you want to, and why you're doing it.
Well, hello everybody, my name is Dale Snyder. Family run business, still in production today. Mom passed away last year and gave the company to me and my 3 brothers. Dad didn't like that. Well, it's what it is. So he's so retired now, so he's living in the mansion by himself kind of thing. The printing business has been very good to our family. About back in 2004, I decided I invented a safety product, and everybody will soon hear about that. It's Fire Drill 101. You'll see about it. It's a safety device that saves people's lives. And anyways, I had a lot of people get involved into that, really big high rollers, and I got into things that are called security investment forms. And for some reason, they told me that I committed a crime because those securities had to be registered with the state of Florida. Well,
Deserve a second chance? What do you guys think it is? What's the best way to tell? Go ahead, throw it out there. You guys got stuff in your head.
They own up to what they've done.
That's very good. That's important. Yep.
ambition.
But how do you tell what's in their head, though? They got. I guess they speak what they've done. They're sorry for it.
Tell by the walk.
By the walk. Yep. What would you say?
Ambition.
Ambition. Yep.
Their attitude.
Yep. There's something else I'm looking for.
I don't think that, I mean, honestly, I don't feel like there's no answer to that question. Everybody deserves a second chance. There is no one that is God on this planet to say that someone doesn't deserve a second chance. I believe that all men, all women, all children in the human race deserve a second chance.
At any time?
At any time.
So any person deserves a second chance at any time.
Because that's what God said.
Okay.
We're not to judge men.
Okay.
So when we make mistakes, you have to forgive, period.
Okay.
That's
Appreciate
for
that.
employers, businesses, America, anywhere.
Okay.
That's my vision for the world one day, which will probably never happen, but I hope to
Yeah,
see
don't
that
say
it does.
You never know.
I pray for that,
Now, when I say a second chance, I mean a second chance that will give results.
Yes.
Like if you, like, for example, let's say somebody is drinking and driving, and you give them another chance, and they have every intention on drinking and driving again, they don't want to change.
You can't help somebody that don't want to help themselves.
Right.
Yeah, so that's, do they deserve another chance to drive? Do you not take their license away if they have every intention of driving and drinking again? So there's got to be some kind of boundary. I know what you're saying.
Right, yeah.
As humans, we do deserve additional chances.
Yes.
Not just second. When we say second, we mean more. It's not just second. I don't know how many chances I've been given in life, just in so many different ways. I can't even count them all. Just when you're married, how many chances do you give your spouse, right?
7 times 7.
Yeah, it's just marriage.
That depends on the spouse.
My wife over there, amen. So second chances can come in a lot of different ways. It's not that you should earn a second chance, but when you give one, you need to consider what they're going to do with it. And be careful, because you can enable people too. When you don't have boundaries, you create problems. The problem is we're not psychiatrists, and so to make judgments whether they deserve it is really hard. But the one area that I'm referring to is by how somebody gives back. Like, are they giving? Are they taking, or are they giving? And giving can come in many different forms. Giving can be just giving a guy a ride to work. I mean, there's a lot of examples of giving. Giving wraps for cars, and just, I could give an example, probably everybody in this room gives, So that to me is how I watch for givers. When I see givers, I make friends with givers, because those are the kind of people that change the world. Because they're giving, always giving. And especially people who've been given a second chance are even more motivated to give, because they haven't forgotten where they've been.
That's good.
So, Mike, let's hear some more of stand up and talk to everybody, and talk about the challenges. Now, Mike's moving to Fort Myers in
January 1st.
January, and you've been out for
3 years.
Do you want to talk about that at all, or you don't have to?
I want to share my story because I want to focus what I say to help other felons that are getting out of prison. I did time in security, maximum security too. It's a very violent place. It's very intense. I got cut in the face specifically in one of my camps for doing my prison job. So you're dealing with people that are broken and hurt and really hardened. That's what happens when you do a certain amount of time in prison. You have to, I want you to see what felons feel about the world, when they come out. Because when they're inside, it's a whole nother level. Of just screwed upness, period. The world has a great vision out here, like you were saying, about giving and giving second chances and forgiving people and sharing and wanting to help other people. In prison, people have the mentality of taking and hurting, and that is the mentality to survive. It's a dog-eat-dog world. So what Kevin's done for me in my relationship with him is he's given me and inspired seeds of hope in my life when I thought that it was over. I thought that maybe I should just go back to prison because there's nothing out here for me except getting on garbage trucks. And I'm not doing that. So, and there's a lot of prisoners, when they get out, they're going to feel the same way. So I would like to tell the felons when they, if I could say anything to them, I'll say, get an education, bro. Because that's the only way you're going to do anything with your life other than getting on dump trucks, cutting grass, and suffering in this heat out here. So that's my message for the felons. And for me, the things that got me through these 3 years, because I was a hairpin trigger when I first got out. And my roommate can tell you. I can't believe he's lasted me this long. But Kevin has always inspired me. I thought that I was never going to find a woman, I was never going to have kids, which I haven't yet. But he's inspired these seeds to make me look for that, to give me hope for that. That's the problem with society. We see somebody struggling, we push them to the side and say, forget it. That's the problem. When you see somebody struggling, you step forward like the bigger person and pick that person up when nobody else will. Amen. That's the heart and soul of America. That's what we did in all these wars, and that is what we need to do inland too. When these people have done their time in prison, it shouldn't be held against them. They've done their time for their crime, and they should be given a second chance. And that's facts. That's Christian principle. God says to forgive. When you're punished, you're forgiven. You get a second chance. And when we go to the afterlife, and this is real talk, when we go to the afterlife, whichever one goes to the afterlife, we have somebody that's going to judge us. And we have to reflect our lifestyles now for planning in the future. I heard somebody say,
your past is a reflective future. I think that was from Harlan. That's awesome. That is beautiful. That's what we have to think about. When you see people that have made mistakes in the past, you have to think about, and that's what you were saying, what are the things that you look for about giving a second chance? What is this person going to do with their future? That's a question I would ask. It's funny because Kevin gets me all the time on the phone. He says, where are you going to be in 5 years? I'm like, I don't know. I can't even remember what I ate yesterday. I mean, I go to work every day, and I play video games. That's my life now. It keeps me out of trouble. But, that's the things you want to ask the felons. What do you see for your future? And when they tell you and you like what you hear, help them strive to get it. That's how felons, are going to be helped. Because a lot of them feel like they're not going to make it. I know in my 3 years out here, matter of fact, last month I feeling like giving up again. But don't give up. You have to inspire seeds in these people that are broken. Completely just disasters. Coming from disasters and disastrous homes, and give them inspire hope in them. And that's I saw a lot of that going on in the administration. I did 2 years in the admin for JNMB and JN. I was actually in the first article in the Florida Today. I helped some guy change his life. It was just simple stuff, like you should probably change your profile picture on Facebook, bro, because people don't want to hire you with that kind of stuff. So and he was just life changed. It was awesome.
He got a job the next week.
Yeah, he got a job the next week after 5 years. It's simple stuff. We can help people in the most simplest ways. It's awesome and change their life. This guy makes way more money than me now. Seriously. So
You should get a
it's
commission
awesome.
then.
No. It's just awesome to see that though, and it's awesome to help people, and I really like what's going on, and I love Kevin to death. He's probably my best friend in the world. And it's just awesome to see everything, people being helped that are broken, and that's all I have. Thank you.
That's good.
That's awesome. Come here, buddy. Aww. Anybody else want to share anything?
I do, believe it or not.
You're going to talk about it?
It's about being there now.
Hey, Lionel. I'm joking.
serious?
I'm joking.
Okay.
No, go ahead. It's okay.
I felt like sharing this because I think it's very interesting, and I'm blessed that this happened to us. But
Who are you?
I'm Justine. I'm Kevin's wife.
Okay.
Sorry, I said it. So I have a part of Joseph Marketplace Ministry. I have that part of the outreach part of it, and I have a faith art studio in Palm Bay that I opened about a year ago, which is a miracle in itself. I do Bible studies. We do art. We do Bible journaling. Just recently, we started doing women's dance, worship dance. And I had posted, I said, you know what, I don't know why I'm not posting it in JNMB. I said, I'm going to go ahead and post my schedule in there and stuff. So one lady had saw the ad or the schedule, and her daughter had just got out of prison, I believe, and was in her home still. She still has her anklet on and everything, and she lives an hour away. And she really, really wanted to come because when she was in the house that she was at, they, as part of her therapy or whatever, they were doing worship, praise, and dance and stuff. So she had asked her probation officer if she can come, and I had called him, and to the very last minute, it was like 5 minutes before she had to leave to come to the studio, she had got the okay to come. Mm-hmm. She was so excited, so blessed, and she's a beautiful dancer, but it's like helping her in her recovery. Mm-hmm. And I'm really blessed to have that. So not, when I think that it's not gonna matter, it matters. So I put it there, so that's awesome.
Go girl. Pastor Jarvis, welcome.
Hey.
This is the real man with the real church. Come on over here and talk a little bit about your church or whatever you want to talk about. Talk about Reach.
I don't want to talk about Reach. How y'all doing?
Good.
I apologize for being late. I had a crazy day. You don't even want to hear about it. I'm so sorry for me. I got mad. I said the food going to it. So I haven't always been a pastor. I did 4 years in prison in California.
born to a mother, a prostitute, and a pimp. I think what I would encourage ex-offenders like myself, I had 13 felonies on my record, but I was also able to go to the White House last year. Invited there through a program we developed. We had like 5 takes at Eric's company over there at the recycling place in the lunchroom. That's what I got the break room. Trying to count videos because Eric's been a good friend and he just take whoever I send on Jarvis and then he'll fire them too now. He'll take them. And it's good to have it in game. So long story short, I would talk a lot about struggling because for those of us who have been in prison, we work for a sandwich. We work for an extra lunch for hours for an extra sandwich, right? And then we shouldn't expect, though things should be equal, we don't live in a world that is. So we have to understand that when we step to the table, when we go to an interview, we have to be able to say, you know what, I may not get what, I'm gonna get right now, but I can work harder. I can work harder and I can keep going. And that street mentality or that mentality of working hard or hustling or doing the right thing or working past people, you can't get past results. And I think when you do the work, if you focus more time on doing the work and connecting to those that will support you, not do it for you. Because I'm a firm believer, nobody owes you anything. So whenever somebody do anything for you, be grateful, And my church is in the Cocoa, Merritt Island area, and it's really not about my church. It's really more about, I thought I came to Brevard County a little over 6 years ago to pastor a church, plant a church. What I came for was to pastor a community. So with that being said, it's not about me promoting my church. Like, I sure would love to see you on Sunday. But it's not about me promoting my church.
But I'm thinking you should come to my community.
Yeah. It's really just about loving people and being honest with people. And dude, you're doing a great job. And I'm glad that this is getting the light that it needs. I think the light really needs to be shone upon what you're doing and what others are doing in the community so we can mix and mesh. Brevard County has a lot of great, unique people, but a lot of us aren't working. We're not working against one another. We're just not working together for whatever reason. I think things like this shine the light on that. Real quick, what we did was a 12-week class with Career Source Brevard, Sheriff Department, State Probation, and an ex-offender, right? The nonprofit, the pastor dude, right? And what we found out was we found companies that would be open to hiring felons, and we developed a process that would deal with them in the inmates unit in jail, in the programs unit in jail, that would then help when they got out. And that was the project that we did. Over 100 of them were done all over the nation, and we were selected as the top 15. That's why we were invited. Great. I pray, God, that this network, that the light that shines upon this will do something great, God, in our county and beyond. I pray for everybody that's struggling in whatever area, God, that you would give them the strength. And God, that they would understand that the struggle shows that things are getting better. Because, God, before there wasn't even a struggle. So now, I thank you for what you started and even the work that you will continue to do. I pray for all of the families that are connected to those who are in this circle, for the people that don't have a record, great people like Susan and others who don't have a record but really have a heart for your people. And bless them, cover them, help the people that help people. In Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.